All right. Tag, you're it. This is about content tagging, right? To some, this is one of the most exciting topics out there. To others, it's quite boring. Let's say it as it is. We will try to make this really, really exciting today. And the reason why we believe that we can do that is because we actually do have an AI implementation in place in production that are doing our tagging. All right, so we'll come to that later. First of all, one question. Do anybody in the room do any one of you have implemented an AI tagging across parts of the content supply chain? There are a few hands. I will try to memorize those faces, even if there's a bright light up here, but I would love to discuss that with you afterwards. Basically, today we will share a little bit of inspiration, hopefully, on what we have done in Novo Nordisk. So, my name is Niklas. This is Mike. Before we dive into the world of AI, I think we have at least one statement from me, and that is, thinking about AI to us. AI doesn't have to be, this big bang thing of an innovation. It doesn't necessarily have to be revolutionizing, but it can be as simple as having AI to do your tagging of your content. So over the next 5 minutes, I will introduce to you some of the kind of the business perspective on this. What has been our challenges in terms of rolling out a tagging framework in a huge organization like Novo, and then Mike will have the honor of presenting the cool slides in his entrepreneurial spirit, because he is Mr. Innovation in our team. All right, moving on. Both me and Mike, we have this, we support this ambition of driving customer excellence forward in Novo Nordisk. And none of us are, creating any content or anything like that, but we are setting up the processes, or, you can call it the guardrails of how it should be, what processes needs to be in place in order to have quality data that you can use for insights, analytics, but ultimately also for AI tools. One of my primary tasks, besides that, is to look at insights across channels, customers, content, that all kind of supports the ambition of customer excellence, right? Today, just to keep it simple, we will have focus on content insights, speak a little bit into core part of what we call our content taxonomy, and how AI is supporting that. So if we double click on content, right? You all know you can have promotional, non-promotional content. In this case, we're just taking our point of departure in a simple email, obviously anonymized and all that. So one email in our DAM system, it holds a lot of different metadata fields, right? So what is the country of origin, a description of the content, product, et cetera, et cetera. Today we're going to focus on the part of our taxonomy that we call the CSKs. So the core category, the subcategory, and also the key message of the content. So why do we do that? Well, obviously we would like to know what is the core, topic of communication that we are sending or that we are sharing with our target audience. And we believe that the CSK, framework is a good way to categorize our content into different buckets. So that could be, product information, guidelines, dosaging, safety and efficacy. It could even be, just general information about product supply situation. So to us, this CSK tagging is really a key lever to enhance our analytics and analysis. We will, of course, also do performance analysis and tie this back to the brand teams that we have to show them basically what messaging or what messages resonates the best with their target audiences, divided on different HCP types and specialties, et cetera, et cetera. In the context of content tagging, we, of course, have an ambition to do very precise tags, a great categorization of tags, because proper tagging is really crucial to enable our ambitions of more granular insights, but it's also crucial to the ambition of content personalization, because I guess, at least for me, if you don't really know what your content message is, what your content is about, well, then I guess personalization may never be more than kind of a star in the horizon to reach out for. Last thing, automatic content creation. That's also something we strive for. And we believe to get there, we really need a good quality data foundation. And to us, that starts with taxonomy and tagging, hence why this is so super, super important. So I think I've said that enough times now. Successful content tagging, that is our ambition here, but how do we get there? So let me run you through a few numbers here. Over the past few years, we've done a lot of things, we believe at least. We have spoken with several of our regions and a lot of local markets about this, about rolling out the CSK tagging framework, why it's important, and stuff like that. We have done a lot of PowerPoint presentations, become quite good at it, creative use cases, and just in general, a lot of training, right? And we even considered in our system, to do, just a mandatory field on CSK values, because then at least you get something into your system, right? But that also comes with different challenges that I'm not gonna take you through today, right? So basically, these efforts is what we did, and took us some of the way, but there are some pain points that kind of never really goes away. So one day there was an MC manager, he reached out to me from one of the regions, and he said, "Hey, Nick, this CSK tagging, it's really difficult for our affiliates to understand the importance of why do they have to do that?" And to be honest, I kind of get it, because it is a burden to them, because what brand manager is being measured on their level of tagging? They are not. So what is really the incentive of tagging for the brand managers if it's not part of their personal development plan? And even if in the local countries, it might be a little bit difficult, because some countries, they need the tagging in a local language, and we cannot support all languages from a global point of view. That's a long story. The point is it really worth it for the brand managers to do the tagging? Do they know how to do? These are some of the feedback that we received, and therefore we basically decided that we needed to kind of rethink our approach on CSK tagging. The realization is that, human-dependent solution will not take us all the way to our end goal in line with our ambitions. And maybe that's fine, but that's basically what made us enter the arena of AI tagging. And Mike, he will now be a little more practical about our solutions and share with you some really cool things. So go ahead, Mike.
Great, thanks a lot. So as you mentioned, Niklas, humans will only get us so far, and I mean, think about that for a second. That's a pretty funny thing to say. We want AI to be the enabler and not something that's taking over the kind of strategy. So as you can see here, it's not AI for AI's sake. It's avoiding the shiny toy syndrome. We want to create AI solutions for tagging that are providing actual value. My team is working on AI use cases within the content supply chain. What that means is that we talk to markets, brand teams, and they give us their pain points and say, hey, we wish we could create content faster, or we wish we could create more compliant content, or these kind of things. And then we go back and we say, okay, but then we need to optimize processes, maybe introduce some new AI solutions if it will provide value. For that, we need a solid data foundation. Without a solid data foundation, none of these solutions would be possible. One of the starting points after you get a solid data foundation is you're able to rely on your content insights. That's number one, that's pretty basic. But as I'll show you, there's actually a lot more things that you can do when you have that solid data foundation. So I want you to imagine a house with 3 levels. On the bottom floor, you have your data foundation. That's what you want to start with. as you mentioned at the top, Niklas, building AI solutions, it doesn't need to be revolutionary. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to have a solid foundation, which we can then build upon and make incremental changes at each floor. So building this data foundation is very important. You will not achieve content insights, and by content insights I mean actual actionable things that you can get out of your content strategy. You will not achieve that without first getting your data foundation in order. I'm going to repeat this many more times, by the way. In simple terms, it means that this is serving as the basis for your analytics and decision making. That's what a data foundation does. You need data coverage, which is that your content must have consistent metadata, so CSK values, for example. And these data must be of high quality. So the CSK values, in our case, should be accurately representing the content. To make informed decisions at the top, so having your content strategy be influenced by your data, which is the ultimate goal, you need to reach the middle floor, achieving content insights. This is what you can learn from how your content is working. So to give you an example, relating back to the CSK taxonomy, if we can see in our reporting dashboards that content with a certain key message is performing better than other content, then we may want to adjust our strategy to create more content like that and send it out, or to create similar content. We ultimately work to support brand teams. So we're an innovation team, but we're working to support brand teams all over the world. And they rely on dashboards and reports to get for important input on their content strategy. These dashboards are also built on the data foundation, and without that, as you can imagine, you can hopefully start to see why it's so important to actually build that. And you've all heard this term, garbage in, garbage out. If you have a crappy foundation with poor coverage and data that, metadata that doesn't reflect the content, you're not going to get any useful information. So now I want to get very practical, because we're talking very high level, and that's all well and good, but let's get practical. Let's talk about the actual solution that we've built. So we are using a data enrichment tool, Lyrico, which is a partner of ours. We partnered with them because we decided that it wouldn't make sense to build something internally. Content tagging seems simple on the surface, but there's a lot of different use cases, and it's easier for us to partner. So we partnered with this company. They've been amazing. What Lyrico does as a platform is it automatically tags our content and classifies documents in our DAM system, allowing us to fill in the gaps of our data foundation. So where the humans can only get us so far, and to be honest, we don't want brand managers to be spending all their time manually inputting metadata fields, so Lyrico gets us the rest of the way. So we use Lyrico to reduce the time spent manually inputting content metadata. We also enable more advanced dashboards, getting more granular content insights. And more importantly for me, because I'm an innovation guy, is that we set the foundation for future AI solutions. And I'll give you one example of a solution that we're building on top of this data foundation. So this is a screenshot of how Lyrico is able to predict CSK values that Niklas mentioned earlier. So it doesn't need to rely on human input. We essentially trained an AI model to recognize and understand our own taxonomy. It will scan documents and predict which values are the most relevant. And we can say that the accuracy level is around 95%, which is super good. I'm not going to get super technical, but if you guys want to talk nerdy to me after, we can do that. But just a very high level of how it works from an architecture standpoint. When a new document is approved in our DAM system, Lyrico pulls the content into its AI engine, let's call it that, scans the material, does some very nice AI things, like recognizing the text and pulling out images, and then it will apply tags. So CSK tags, but also visual tags, and there's actually 3 or 4 or 5 different tagging use cases that we're working on, but the CSK ones is what we're actually talking about today. Applies those tags, and then it syncs those tags back into our DAM system. So We don't want to create a data silo. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants data silos. We have enough. So all this data is synced back into our DAM system we maintain that as our single source of truth. That's what we like to call it. So a PromoMats integration, that's our DAM system, that was the number one criteria for us when we were deciding which solution to actually go with. Here you can see 3 CSK metadata fields that are syncing nicely on the Viva job. This information, of course, flows into our dashboards to enhance reporting. Here we have it's working in the background, so it's automated. So when a new content piece is approved, it's automatically tagged. No need for human input. Of course, we have a librarian team who's doing spot checks to make sure that everything is looking right and that the quality is still high. As I mentioned before, we enrich our DAM system to be our single source of truth when it comes to content insights. And crucially, and the thing that I've been using to sell this internally to the brand teams is that in the short term, it will help increase content searchability. Because now we can enable brand managers to find content that's relevant for them without having to scroll through 40,000 documents and using complicated filters. Now you can filter by CSK value and maybe make a copy of a job that you want to copy. So very quickly, let's look at the stats. Our tagging coverage for CSK values when we started was 5%. Pretty terrible, to be honest, because you can't get any meaningful insights out of that if you have one region or one market that has tagging coverage and the other doesn't, for example. After implementing Lyrico, we actually got pretty much 100% coverage, which then allows us to do a lot of very interesting things when it comes to reporting and comparing performance of documents across regions, for example. If we were to translate this into the amount of hours saved manually tagging, we're talking 2,000 people hours that it would have taken to actually tag these, and that's just for the CSK use case. We have visual tagging, we have AI-generated summaries of documents. We have a lot of different tagging use cases. But okay, we have a few minutes left. We've seen some great initial results when it comes to tagging. Niklas will now run through the sort of qualitative pain points.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it goes without saying, these stats are really amazing, right? And just to summarize that, we're no longer reliant on affiliates' manual tagging of our content. That's pretty cool. All the new content pieces that are approved for distribution in our system, they will automatically be tagged within seconds or even within, at least very little time, right? It also reduces the coordination efforts that can be quite difficult in a huge organization across regions and affiliates, right? Because now AI is just taking care of that for us, which is really cool. And a really important thing is that actually the quality of data, we at least believe that is much more structured now, because we've set up a framework for how it needs to be done. So it's not reliant on whether or not the human has a good day or a bad day, or new in his job or her job, or these different factors. So that's really, really cool. We only have 1 minute left, and I actually want to give that minute to Mike, just to inspire you a little bit about other AI use cases that we maybe come back for in the future.
Yes, this is my elevator pitch. So, what kind of possibilities do we have now that we have our data foundation? I'm actually going to skip through this slide pretty quick because I have something pretty exciting that I want to show you. Let's talk about what we're calling content assistant, name pending. I think that's going to change. But I mentioned that searchability is a number 1 or maybe number 2 use case for having a data foundation. So making it easier for our brand teams to find content so that they can reuse content and that our content reuse can go up, because we don't want to create content from scratch if we already have something that's available in another market, or if a global team is creating content, then of course the local brand team should use that. So we're using our data foundation, and we're building this tool. This is not launched yet, but think of it like a chatbot, like ChatGPT, except it's connected to our DAM system, and it's able to pull the AI-powered tags. So I could ask a question like, show me high-performing emails for brand X. And then it will be able to pull from the AI tags and say, okay, I found a few emails that could suit your needs based on the tags that you have. So that's a way that we're increasing content searchability. We want to increase content reuse and reduce reliance on agency partners, and we can also bake in brand guidelines, so greater adherence to brand guidelines. I just want to end with a few different points. We didn't have any technical resources when we embarked on this project. It took us around 6 months to launch. If I could give 4 pieces of advice, I would say, number 1, build a really good business case. So don't do it for the sake of AI. Build a business case and do it properly. It sounds obvious, but that's what we did, and it really helped to sell it. Number 2, find a great partner. Hintello, which is the company that makes the platform, they're amazing. I can highly recommend them. There's other partners out there, but they were really good for us. And number 3 is trust the process. So there will be times when you think that it's taking too much time, or management is calling and saying, hey, what are the results? Just trust the process. It will hopefully work out in your favor. You will get that data foundation, and if you can prove the value, then that's super good. And lastly, I know I'm over time, but dedicate time to the rollout. Make sure you anchor this within your organization, because if you don't do that, then people won't know what to do with the tags, and it will be a mess. So we have dedicated a lot of time to that, and that's what we're in the process of doing now. That's our speed run. I just want to say thank you so much, and yeah, that's it for us.